Greetings and welcome to a presentation of the Adrian Dominican Sisters of a Sister Story. Today we have our sister Adrienne Piennette, who presently resides and is in ministry in Santa Cruz, California. So welcome, Adrienne, and we're going to let you get right into your story. Now, many of us know you've been out there, you grew up out west, and you've been out west. So with the exception of about 10 years here on our side of the country. So if you would tell us something about your beginnings, your family, and how you, well, first of all, your name used to be Mary Eugene.
Right.
Your religious name.
My religious name.
Now we like to use that because many of our people who watch, either your students or benefactors, don't know you perhaps by Adrienne. So we like to say, you know, Sister Adrienne Piennette, formerly known as Sister Mary Eugene. So how did you get Mary Eugene?
I was in Sister Marie Eugene's first postulant class.
Right.
And so there were a couple of us who put it down as a choice. And I had Eugene in my family. I had a couple uncles. So nice. One of those three names, and I got it. And had it for about 5 or 6 years, I think. Not very long, but
okay, yeah.
Because then we went back to our own names.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, why don't you just begin and give us some background on your beginnings with your family and where you grew up?
Okay. My parents met during World War II. My father was in the military, and he was in a base near Fresno, California. And my mother grew up in Fresno. But my father was originally from Mount Angel, Oregon, which is a Benedictine group. They had that Benedictine men monastery up on the hill. And my aunt on my father's side was a Benedictine sister down the hill in the monastery. And so anyway, they met during World War II and they married. And then they moved back to Mount Angel, which is in Oregon, which is very wet at that time. And my mother grew up in Delano, which was very dry. So anyway, to make a long story short, it was 1946 and my father was looking for a car because I was coming and they couldn't find a car. He couldn't buy a car to save his life. So I'm on my way and my mother says to him, you got to find somebody to take us to the hospital because the hospital was 13 miles away.
Oh my.
And so my dad said, well, what are you suggesting? She says, call the pastor. So they called the pastor of the parish and because he had a car and he drove my mom and dad to the hospital and I almost came on the way.
Oh my gosh.
My story, I guess I was predestined, so to speak. But anyway, I was born in Silverton, Oregon, and then it was too wet for my mother, so we moved back to Delano because that was where she was from. Fresno, which is 80 miles more north of Delano in California. And there's where I met our sisters. I went to St. Mary's School in Delano from grades K through 8. And my father was determined that I was going to go to a Catholic high school. And the nearest Catholic high school was 30 miles away in Bakersfield. So it was a choice. I could commute 30 miles each way or we could move. And so my dad decided to move. And we moved from Delano to Santa Cruz. And that's how I got to Santa Cruz, where I had our sisters in high school.
Okay.
Now I know that one of the
Cross.
Holy Cross. One of the questions here is, how did you first meet the sisters? Well, I met the sisters a long time before I met our sisters. I had an aunt that was a Benedictine, and I have an aunt that is a Holy Cross sister from South Bend, Indiana. So I knew sisters. I knew a lot of the underground stories of sisters before I met our nuns. But anyway, that's how I came to be interested in maybe. You know, in second grade, I wanted to be a sister, but after about third grade, I never did again. And so anyway,
when you were in second grade, which community did you think you wanted to go to of the Benedictine?
I wanted to go to Adrian, and I told my parents at that time that if I had to go to Adrian because I couldn't go to the Benedictines because then the Holy Cross would be upset. If I went to Holy Cross, then the Benedictines would be upset. So,
Very good.
and when I entered, I used that same excuse with my parents eventually. But I told the sisters in high school, no, I didn't want to be a nun or a sister. No, that wasn't for me. But when I was a senior, Sister Thomas Josephine was the one who came to me, and she said to me, you know, Adrian, you might want to think about it. So I thought about it for a couple months, and then I decided maybe it would be okay. And then my father gave me one piece of advice. He said, stay 6 months and then do what you want.
Good.
So I thought, okay, because I was coming from California to Adrian.
Yeah.
And that was a big,
yeah.
It was my first plane ride.
Did your folks go with you?
No.
Oh, so you went by yourself. Okay.
Well, no, there were 3 of us that entered together
Okay.
from California. And we went to Cleveland because one of them had a friend who could drive us to Adrian for entrance.
Mm-hmm.
So we spent a night at the convent in Cleveland at, what was the high school in Cleveland that we have or had?
Bishop Carroll? No, that's
No,
Florida. That's Florida. Cleveland, I don't know.
I don't remember right now. But anyway, so we spent the night in Cleveland, and then they drove us to the entrance day. And my parents, when they came out for reception, they came by train because my mother would not fly. She was scared to death of flying. So, you know, that was back in 1963. So next year it will be 60 years.
Oh, good for you.
Well, actually, it's 60 years this September.
Exactly. Now, you didn't have brothers and sisters? No siblings?
I have one brother.
Okay.
And my one brother has moved from California. After my parents died, he lost his job. And he couldn't find a job in California. And he always wanted to go to Notre Dame. Well, he didn't. But so and my aunt was the librarian at the seminary in South Bend.
Okay.
So she encouraged him to come to South Bend, and he got a job there, and he moved his family back there. And that's been 30 some years now that he's lived in South Bend. So my niece and nephews were born in California, but raised in Indiana. And so when he went back there, he started ushering the football games at Notre Dame. And if you usher for 25 years, you get a gold card, which means you get to get into sports events free. So he has his gold card. And so he feels like he's very important. But anyway.
So you had some connection to Notre Dame then?
Oh, yes.
You went there. I mean, to leave the West and then to go work at in South Bend.
Oh yeah, when I left there, when I did ministry at Notre Dame,
yeah.
Yes, I did.
That's interesting. What convinced you to make that switch from California to Notre Dame?
Oh, I'll tell you, I taught first grade for X number of years. I taught 6th, 7th, and 8th grade for X number of years. I was principal, and there were about 9 years that I did each of those things. And the day that a 3rd grader came to me and said, "Sister, I want to sue my teacher." I said, "What?" I was a principal of the school at that point. And he wanted to sue his teacher because he didn't get a good grade on his test. But I knew where that came from, you know, the idea. I thought to myself, it's time for me to get out of school. So at that point, the congregation, I applied for study, and I wanted to study the liturgy. And so I went to University of Santa Clara and have a master's degree in liturgy. And at that point, I was working at a parish as a pastoral associate. And when my brother's family was all back there, so, you know, he was raising them back there, and my parents were both deceased. So I thought, well, maybe I should go back to Notre Dame for a while. And when I applied, of course, I had my aunt that was at Notre Dame. I had my brother that was at Notre Dame, and I applied as a rector of a women's hall. So I spent 4 years as a rector, and that means you're in charge of about 260 18 to 22-year-old women 24/7. And that was an adventure. And then,
but somebody followed you. One of our sisters followed you.
Yeah, Cindy Broderick went at one time. there.
There's still somebody else I'm thinking of that I went there and visited. I don't know.
Who
I'm
it
thinking of a
was.
couple names, but I don't want to say
Yeah,
them
I
because,
think there were 3 of us that had
yeah,
time
yeah,
there.
yeah.
But anyway, that was an exciting adventure. And while I was there, I forget who, I forget who the president at Regina was. And Molly Giller was on the council.
Yeah.
And she invited me to apply for that position when maybe it was Carol Fleming who,
Could have been, yeah.
and she was leaving, and so I applied and got it. And 6 years of living in the snow in the winter and the humidity in the summer and driving in it, that was enough. And so I decided after it was great. I mean, I had a wonderful time. I'll never forget the first parent meeting at Regina. I had just come back, come off of being at the college for, 4 years. And so they at Regina, the senior parents had a night in the fall when they would, kind of get what do they need to do to get their girls ready for college. And I said to them, having just come out of Notre Dame, I would suggest that you talk to your daughters about what your belief is around alcohol. And everybody kind of just stopped. I said, it's very important because that's one of the things that no matter where they go to school, they're going to be introduced to. And they need to know what your feeling is. And if you feel you need to help teach them how to drink, do that. If you have to instill in them then that there's not a necessity to drink, work with them. I said, because they're going to be tempted and they'll be tempted right away. So after that, I did it every year for the 6 years I was
That's wonderful, right?
Because it was something that, when you're at a school like like Regina or the Jesuit high schools, the one down the street, St. Ignatius or whatever,
yeah,
you work so hard to get your grades so that you can go to the school you want to. And you don't do a lot of the socializing. You do it because you have proms and all of those things, but you don't do the every Friday night necessarily go out for a movie and that sort of thing. So it's something that a lot of the students that went to Notre Dame had not had experience with when they got.
Yeah, right. How inspired you were to give that little talk, huh?
Well, the reason was my first year there, one of the young ladies had applied to the band. She wanted to be in the University of Notre Dame band. And of course, they had an initiation rite. And what did they do? It was off campus because seniors were doing it. And she missed her first couple of days of school because she had to go to the hospital. Yeah, she was a sick little young lady for a while. So it's something that parents had to be, at least I felt parents had to be aware of.
Mm-hmm. Did they come back and thank you for that little talk at some point?
A couple of the teachers thought it was a good idea, that it was, really important to bring that up. But, experience is what you take with you wherever you go.
Exactly.
And that really, that was really something that hit me hard.
Especially. So then you left Notre Dame.
And I came back to California.
And did you ever get your gold card?
No, I wasn't there long enough.
I tell you, around here, that everybody loves. I'm not a football person. This Notre Dame, whenever Notre Dame is playing, the whole campus stops because they're so into that football team.
Well, I went to the games every week.
Yeah.
Because I had people from my hall who were in the band. So, all the rectors of the halls were encouraged to go to the games in case the students got into some trouble.
Very good, very good. Okay, so then you decided you needed to go back. You had enough of the winter weather. Then you went back, and is that when you went to the hospital?
No, I came back to Santa Cruz, and for about 4 or 5 years, I taught again in at Holy Cross in junior high, and then I was principal there 1 year, and the principal walked out 2 days before school started that year. I said, "Oh, I can do it. I've done it before." I applied for the position, but I didn't get it. Someone else did. So I was a principal one year, and then after that I came here. And I think that the sisters I had in high school must be, I don't know what, chopping at the bit or whatever, but they all wanted me to be a candy striper. That was the junior
Yeah.
volunteer.
Yeah.
And I wanted nothing to do with healthcare. So guess where I'm ending my career?
Interesting.
In
Healthcare.
healthcare.
For
I worked at
years.
the boardwalk, which is really the official way you get from a youngster to teenage years to an adult, is to work at the boardwalk during your high school years.
The boardwalk.
Here in Santa
Interesting.
Cruz.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Santa Cruz has a great boardwalk.
I've never heard that expression, the boardwalk.
Well, it's where all the the roller coaster and the merry-go-round and all the rides are in front of the beach. It's
Got it.
and then,
Okay.
then you go to the boardwalk and then you go to the beach. And so I worked at the boardwalk.
Okay. So
I passed my dues.
So what are you about at this point in your life?
Right now, I'm getting to the point of getting ready to retire. I'm going to work half-time for a year or two. And the thing that keeps me very excited is I work in the volunteer office.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm basically the one that vets new volunteers. And when I first came here, I'm starting my 12th year this year.
Wow.
And when I first came here, we had a university and we have a junior college. And they didn't have a lot of volunteers from those two schools. And so I went to UCSC, which is our University of California, and I found a way to get myself in where there were some classes that the students had to shadow a doctor if they wanted to continue, maybe continue in medicine. So I suggested that they become volunteers. And so I have a program with them now. And Cabrillo, the junior college, is kind of in transition right now for something. But the program from there requires that they do 80 hours of time here, and we add an extra 20 just for the sake of getting a nice round number. So I usually have about 8 to 10 college age volunteers every quarter, because we're in quarters, not semesters. And it's been wonderful because I think they want to be doctors, nurses, or PTs, physical therapists, and they get a chance to see what those people do before they spend the money on the education.
Wonderful. Yeah.
And I've had a number of students who I think I have a couple doctors in my past, but they don't, not very many of them keep up with you, but some of them have changed their minds. Instead of
Thank God.
To be a doctor, they'll be a nurse. So it's been a very good learning experience for them. And last week I had the most exciting experience, though. I had a young lady, she's got her BA. She's taking classes at Cabrillo now to be a nurse. Her goal is to be a nurse practitioner, but she wants to volunteer on the van that we take out, to go out to the areas that don't have a lot of healthcare. Because she wants to be a community health person.
Right.
And she wants to be a nurse practitioner. But the exciting part was I taught her when I was first here, when she was in 8th grade, biology at Holy Cross. And it was so nice to see her. A young lady who you knew as a kid has grown up and is really doing something with her life.
That's nice to have that experience, because we got shipped around to different places that you kind of lost count with some of the special people.
She's one of the only people that I've taught that I've met again, as she's grown up. So that was really exciting. I came home excited, and Rita was so funny. What had happened?
Well, that's good. You're open and you are energetic and stuff like that.
And I have to say, after the third year of COVID, when we started to invite volunteers back, it was the college people who wanted to come back. The older people were afraid, and I don't blame them. I mean, they have every right to be, but we were able to get the college kids on board right away because they wanted it and needed it.
That was such an experience, wasn't it? That COVID and the
Don't tell me about
hospitals.
COVID.
Oh my God. Did you ever
Yeah.
get it?
No,
Did you
thank
no?
God. I'm
Yeah.
still wearing a mask though out in public.
Oh,
You
you
know, like
are.
when I go to the store or something like that, because we don't know who's been vaccinated and who hasn't. And now the symptoms are less severe if you've been vaccinated, so it's harder to know whether you have it or not.
Mhm, mhm.
So,
Well, all these mass killings and shootings and all that stuff that's
oh,
going on in every corner. Someone said, you know what? That's our pandemic at present. That's the new
oh,
pandemic, which I
oh,
thought that's interesting concept. Yeah,
it's an
yeah,
interesting
yeah.
concept and a very sad one
Oh, very
for our
sad.
country.
Exactly, exactly. So your words of wisdom to us on how to live life fully, you seem to still enjoy it.
I enjoy it pretty much, except that I have taken a few falls. I have arthritis in my knee,
Oh
and
dear.
so I carry a cane with me just for security. I don't use it all the time, but you know, it makes me feel steady. So,
And I think people look classy with their canes.
and you know, more and more people are doing it.
Maybe
Why?
that's it. Maybe that's it. But it's just your attitude. It's an assistive device that helps you to stay on your
Right.
2 feet. Because boy, I want to do the hip and the legs and the shoulders and stuff. That's takes you in a different. So what do you do for fun?
I love to knit,
Oh,
and
okay. We still
I
have knitters. Good.
knit hats for Cats Cancer Center here in at Dominican. It's you know it's where we give the therapies when you have cancer and you
Uh-huh.
and so I just sit and knit. I have the hat so memorized, the pattern for it. I can make a hat in about 2 days.
Wonderful.
So, and
Wonderful.
somebody gave me about 10 pounds of yarn, so it keeps me out of trouble.
Well, I tried to take out knitting once, and the stitch was so tight, and that's who I
Oh,
was. They
yeah,
said, Peg, loosen up, loosen up.
right.
Now, I know everything in your life hasn't been just wonderful, and not that I want to know the areas that weren't wonderful, but what have you learned? What's a lesson you learned from some experience that you had that maybe would speak out to some of the rest of us?
I think I think one of the things that's really important is to listen to people and to empathize with them as they're talking to you. You know, don't just take their words. And that's what I tell the college students. Don't just look at what the people are saying to you. Look at how they're saying
Yeah.
it. And that's so important if you're going to go into medicine. And of course, with the masks that we had to wear, it kind of broke that whole thing down. But I think that that's something that we don't do. We just we often just say something and you know it's over. No, why did that person say it? What are they really saying? And I find it sometimes I can get into some very deep conversation with the college people, which I think they need because I don't think they know how to do it. They're doing everything online, and that keeps you distanced. And they don't they don't realize how important it is
Mhm.
that they have to hear people, but they have to hear people not just with words, but with their actions also.
But
And
what
this,
specific experience did you have that is so dear to you and pronounced and special to you?
um, I don't know if I can name something specific or if it was just something that you know in the course of working with
Yeah,
people,
yeah.
I picked it up. Maybe it was that third grader who wanted to sue his teacher. You know, now he said that. What was really going on in his life?
Exactly. You didn't pursue that, huh?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't want to get involved with that one.
You know what? But that said something to you. That's interesting. Yeah. But as we're
Yeah,
in a group, listen to what people are saying, and other people are not listening because they're asking another question, which doesn't even have anything to do with what someone was trying to pull out of it.
exactly.
Yeah. Not,
Exactly.
not that you're talking about therapy sessions, but
No, no, no.
yeah, we've got to feel anyway, feel comfortable with each other. Do you have a favorite book? What kind of reading do you like to do?
Well, I have a problem with my left eye, so I can't see very clearly. I mean, I can see out of it, but not clearly. So reading becomes a real task. So I don't do a whole lot of reading as I used to. I loved Patterson's mystery novels, and I just saw an ad for a new one, and I thought maybe I should get back to reading his stories.
Well, get large print.
Oh, that's an idea.
Yeah.
Or word of mouth, the audiobooks.
Right. We're kind of involved in our computers or in our phones and stuff like that, which is, look and see how many people are on their cell phones when conversation is going on. It's disgusting. Yeah.
And walking down the hallways, well, we're not supposed to use our phones in the hallways, except, the nurses carry them in case they get a call. But you see the visitors coming in, they'll walk right into you because they've got, their phone out.
So what else do you do to re-energize your spirit? The hospital ministry is very intense and stressful, particularly what you just came out of with the pandemic.
I pray every morning before I go into work. I come into work about 6 in the morning, but the good part about that is I get home around noon. So
right.
And it's going to go down to 5 hours a day, 4 days a week. So I'll have my afternoons to knit and whatever. What do I find? So I think just talking to God really is, being prayerful. And I do that every morning to kind of help me get ready for the day, because you never know how people are going to walk into the hospital. I train the volunteers to be at the front lobby desk. And so I take the 7 to 8 a.m. shift. And people can be so frightened and tense, and maybe the patient isn't, but the person bringing them in. I had one where the young lady, she was a young woman, and she was coming in for some kind of a in-out surgery, not required to stay, but her mother was just a basket case, and it was helping her to be a basket case. And so it just so happened that the mother had to go back out to the car to get something. So I thought, okay, this is good. We'll walk down the hall together and we'll talk about what's going to happen. And by the time I got her back to the surgery waiting area, she had calmed down about 100%.
That's wonderful.
She was, and then I figured, okay, when her mother comes in, we'll take her mother back there. But by that time, maybe the nurses will have taken her in to get ready for surgery. But I just felt so sorry for her, the patient, because her mother was so upset, probably, scared.
Oh, sure.
What was going to happen to her daughter.
And you were able to feel that, not just, oh no,
exactly.
I'm fine. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's where that listening. Well, perhaps this, I kind of think I got a sense of it, but one of the questions, where do you think the Holy Spirit is leading you at this time? Or where are you leading the Holy Spirit in your life?
To retirement.
But do you know what that means? You don't have to answer that, but do you know what that means? I think that's something we could all look at.
Well, one of the things that I think, or at least I don't know how many of us think about it when we're going to, make that next step, is we do a lot with people.
Yes.
And I have all my life, and I love teaching, absolutely loved it. But what happens when you don't have the people? And it's going to be a different lifestyle, because you don't have to get up and go out and, meet the people. You've got to find some way, though, to do that in some way, shape, or form, either by joining a book club or, and I don't mean always Zoom meeting.
Right.
I mean people to people, because I think that's something for me that's going to be very important, that I find a way to
continue to be in. Yeah, pardon me. I'm sorry.
Be involved with
engaged.
People.
Yeah.
Personally involved with them.
Yeah, because that's who we are. We're people person. I mean, that's right. We taught. We were engaged with the parents, with the kids, and and on and on and on to everything we did. Everything we did do brought us to the next point. But I hope, I hear sometimes saying, oh, the sisters don't retire. But you know what? There's a sense of we don't keep doing. How am I going to be? What's my identity going to be when I don't have that job, that title, that, some people have said, oh yeah, the congregation directory, where you live and your ministry. I can't have my address be my ministry. I mean, that is sad. You know how that one second column, yeah. That's all right. That's who we are at this point. Who are you at this point in your life? So it's really important that we don't have to keep, every single day involved and go out, but that's a whole new identity when you go to wherever you go and nobody knows you.
I did that a lot though in my life.
That's good.
Keep going and
brand new. You're brand new. Oh God, that's always a interesting experience. Nobody knows you and you don't know anybody else. And
that's right.
Okay, so the only way to go introduce yourself. So Adrian, anything that I didn't ask you that you wished I would have asked you? Seriously.
I don't think so. I'm glad this is over, almost.
Well, you are, when I say 30 minutes, you think, oh my God, I've been in this congregation and how old I am. How can I do all that in 30 minutes? But it's not every bit. It's what's significant to you. And we do know you a little bit better. Those of us that haven't, engaged with you because we haven't been out west except on hither and yon. So thank you ever so much. You're finished. And Rita can be nervous now.
Right, and she is.
Well, she should have done the same day. I thought that's what the two of you were going to do. But anyway, thank you ever so much. I don't know when this will be on, maybe in a couple weeks, but just be assured that your picture will be up on all the bulletin boards on campus. And
wonderful.
And then, it is on YouTube.
Right. Yeah. I watched a couple of them.
Yeah. So, and it's amazing. Our benefactors that watch that, because they would have said, I don't know who that sister is, but who was she? So now I try to remember to find out who you were, Mary Eugene. Yeah, Adrienne Piennette. How did you write all that in first grade? I used to be a first grade teacher.
I didn't. You know what I did? I get to the end of Adrian. This is Adrienne, and then I put the TTE after it.
I think you.
I figured I was finished.
Yeah, because those long names.
My kindergarten teacher and my first grade teacher were not impressed.
Oh, I thought
Sister
that was
Francis
creative.
Loretta and Sister Andy Lourdes.
Okay.
I think I only have one of my former teachers that is still alive, and that's Carol Ioannes.
Oh my.
She taught me in second grade.
Wonderful. Did she teach you a lot of theology and scripture?
No. She tried to teach me that a nickel was worth 5 cents. I said, no, it's only 1 coin. She says, but it's worth 5 cents. Well, I had it. So after when we went to recess, I walked home because I didn't believe that a nickel was worth 5 cents.
She'll enjoy this. I'm going to tell her to be sure and watch it when it comes out. That's good.
And when she talked about the earthquake that we had in Bakersfield when she was out there, I remembered that too, because I was so excited because it was during the night and the bed rocked. And I was so excited to have a rocking bed. My mother was petrified. But anyway, so earthquakes, and we've been having a few of those, but thank God they've been a little ways away.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to be having more.
Since we are them who are now our elders, I'll be looking for you and Adrian when it's time.
Okay.
I don't live on campus, but I still think I have to go to Adrian, meaning the campus. So anyway, thank you. This was absolutely delightful. So thank you again, Adrian.